All right, after months and months of scouting, I'm finally ready to give you my first edition of my 2025 rookie rankings. This is in Superflex formats. No time to waste. Let's start off with my tier number 1. There's only one player in this tier. No surprise. It is Ashton Jeanty. I'm very confident in Ashton Jeanty. I do believe he's that Bijan Robinson level of prospect, if not better, to be honest. You know, I'm not going to sell you on Ashton Jeanty. You've been sold all year on Ashton Jeanty by this point. He was my RB1 coming into the year, so that feels good to see him still there. Here's what I will say. The two concerns people keep talking about with Ashton Jeanty is, number one, he played in the Mountain West. Okay, well, if that's a concern for yours, go ahead and see what did he do against good competition. For example, this year against the Big Ten, he played Oregon. Against Oregon, he put up 192 yards, over 7.5 yards per attempt, and 3 touchdowns. The other concern that people have is that he's not a pass-catching running back. Well, that's not true. He just wasn't utilized that way this year. If you don't know, Ashton Jeanty before the season basically said, if I don't get 2,000 yards, I'll shave my head. So it was a very big, incentive for him to reach that 2,000 yard mark. And if you go back even just last year, this guy led all running backs in receiving yards in college football. And in fact, last year, his total receiving yards was more in any single season, more than Jahmyr Gibbs ever had in a season or Bijan Robinson. So he is the true, complete, do-it-all back. I've said this before, but when life gives me lemons, I'll probably try to make lemonade. I'll try. I'm incompetent, but I'll try. When life gives Ashton Jeanty lemons, the dude makes caviar out of it, all right? He is just truly different. I see some Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Maurice Jones-Drew with that low center body of gravity break tackle machine, and Alvin Kamara. He's a true 3-down workhorse, top 15 pick in the NFL draft, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs type of draft capital. I mean, put this man on the Cowboys, and it's Jover. All right, moving on to tier number 2. I'm going to start this tier, and can I just say this, guys? We are almost 5 months away from the NFL draft. Like, that's kind of the timeline. So if you're out there and you're watching someone, or, you know, you yourself have this belief that rankings, they have to be a certain way, otherwise they're wrong. If you have that opinion, I'd encourage you to go back and look at 2024 rookie rankings and tell me that they just have to be a certain way. So when you look at this tier, you can scramble it however you want. All right, the last player in this tier can be the first player in this tier. You can scramble exit all the way up and down this tier, okay? I like these players in this pocket. And we're starting off with 3 wide receivers who have tied for number 2. Luther Burden, Travis Hunter, and Tet McMillan. It really comes down to what's your flavor? Tell me what's your flavor. I promise I won't try and do that again. But for me, my flavor is like that really dynamic, after the catch, savvy route runner, twitchy guy. That's why I have Luther Burden right now based off of film. You know, we'll have to consider draft capital, but based off of film, he is currently my wide receiver 1A in this class. Obsessed with him. I think all of your concerns can very easily be assessed by watching the film, because his quarterback play was dog doo-doo this year. It was awful. Brady Cook took a huge step back from 2023 to 2024. And in 2023, Luther Burden had incredible production, incredible analytical profile. But of course, you are reliant on your quarterback more than even a running back, right? To put up numbers. So I think if you gave him Shedeur Sanders, he puts up 1,500 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. Dynamic, explosive, game-changing yak threat. I mean, the man in the open field is so special. It's like the equivalent of Kyrie Irving's handles in the NBA. He's got this bag of tricks that allows him to extend the play, right? Like the raw speed, the twitchiness, the strength through contact, the juke, the hezzy, the step back. I mean, the man has it all in the open field. He's a great route runner, in my opinion, based off of film, has incredible hands. I see like a JSN plus Deebo Samuel had a baby type of prospect here. I mean, I really think this man can be special. I really, really do. There's even some Rashee Rice to his game. I believe he goes in the first round. I believe he's a top 15 pick. I mean, you put this man with the Commanders, it's over with him and Jaden Daniels as a long-term play. But I'm a huge fan of his game. I think he's an all-world talent. And all of your concerns can be addressed on film, in my humble opinion. Now, my wide receiver 1B and my overall player that's 2B is Travis Hunter. Let me just say this. Congratulations to him for winning the Heisman. I might think it should have been Jeanty. That doesn't matter. But I'm being dead-ass serious when I say this. I've been scouting for just over 5 years. I have never seen a player, I don't care what position we're talking about, I have never seen a player with these ball skills. Truly. Even last year's class. So many good wide receivers. None of them had the ball skills that Travis Hunter has. It is genuinely one of one. The guy's elite in that area, right? The ball tracking, the concentration, the high pointing, the strong hands, through contact, sacrificing his body, boundary awareness, knowing exactly where to put those feet in so you're in and adjusting, contorting your body and still having those strong hands to make these ridiculous catches. I mean, the man is truly elite, A++++ ball skills. It's crazy. And he's a great route runner. He's great at the catch. He's a dynamic athlete. I think we could see like a Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley combo here. Like the best of those two worlds, I think you combine them, you could see kind of a Travis Hunter type of player. But of course, if he doesn't declare as a wide receiver, if the man enters the NFL draft as a cornerback, we're going to have to adjust. But guys, we can do that when we find out more information. Again, we are 5 months out from the draft. And my wide receiver 1C is Ted McMillan. This is not a downgrade on him, okay? He's a great player. He's a great prospect. This is truly what is your flavor. And what a lot of people's argument is to trash Luther Burden is it's a production-based argument. Well, Ted didn't have good quarterback play and he produced. I'm sorry, are you losing your mind? Do you not realize that Ted McMillan is playing with his high school quarterback? He's known this man. He's played football with this man for about 8 years. And you're going to sit here and tell me that he doesn't have good quarterback play? The guy has been playing with him for almost 8 years. Of course he has this chemistry that you can't produce anywhere else, that you can't replicate anywhere else. Is Noah Fafita NFL quarterback? No, but Luther Burden would die to have his quarterback in high school who had this inbuilt chemistry. If his quarterback in high school was a college football level quarterback and he had that type of chemistry with him all the way into college football, you can't over account for that. Look, here's the thing. Ted's a fantastic player. Now, he is the Mike Evans. He is the Drake London, type of ceiling in this class. Now, I don't think he's a very good route runner or, he's fine, but he's not a special route runner by any means. He doesn't win, let's say, by creating separation and winning with these nasty routes. No, he wins with the contested catches, the strong hands. He's pretty decent after the catch. He's a great zone beater as well. He wins with size, speed, and leverage. All right. And that doesn't mean he won't be good in the NFL. Me saying he's not the best route runner. He is a good route runner. He's just not special. Like this is not Keon Coleman all over again. Okay, like he's a decent route runner. He is more than adequate, but he is not special as a route runner. The routes are rounded off. Now, I have to account for the fact that he is 6'5", 215. So of course he's not going to move the way that a Luther Burden does or a Travis Hunter does. I'm taking that into account. I hear you, but the route running is a little bit tough to gauge. He is going to be used exclusively as an X receiver. I don't think he has special suddenness as well to his game. So I think the ceiling is Drake London, Mike Evans. I think a more realistic comp is Mike Williams, Keon Coleman. He's kind of like the anti-JSN if you think about him as a player, but he can still be a very good, productive receiver. The man is an animal. All I'm saying is don't be so settled right now. You don't have to have that answer. All right. 2 running backs in this tier that I think are truly going to change the landscape of Dynasty from day one. That is Amarion Hampton and Caleb Johnson. I don't care which way you have these guys ranked. They're both game-changing starting running backs from day one. I don't see these guys getting drafted outside of round 2. They might be first-round picks if a late team in the first round wants to get them. But Amarion Hampton, the guy's another one of these contact balance, break tackle king type of players. He actually led the nation in yards after contact in 2023. He's got great burst and speed for his size. At his size, he should not move the way that he does. It's kind of crazy to think about it. I see James Conner. I see Leonard Fournette coming out. I see a very special player. You put this man on the Chargers. He's putting up 1,200 yards as a rookie and 10 touchdowns. And as far as Caleb Johnson goes, he's kind of like a similar player. You can make the argument that Amarion's maybe a better pass catcher, or at least he has more evidence that he's a better pass catcher. Maybe that's where my heart lies personally. But Caleb Johnson is still an incredible player. Another one of these guys who has ridiculous analytics. He was 6th in yards per attempt, 4th in yards after contact per attempt. He had the #1 breakaway percentage, and all those analytics are even more impressive when you realize the pure amount of volume that he had. He was still being so efficient with his touches. Special burst, hits the lane with conviction, hits the edge with conviction, like a rocket, kind of being shot out of a rocket. Strength through contact, pile mover. I see some Chiefs Larry Johnson and some Nick Chubb. In fact, I think he'd be the perfect replacement for Nick Chubb in Cleveland. Moving on, the last player in this tier is a quarterback. I know it's super flex. We finally got to a quarterback that I feel comfortable ranking. That is Shedeur Sanders. He was my quarterback last year, my quarterback one last year. He remains my quarterback one. Here's what I will say. I think a lot of people want to know, well, where would you rank Shedeur in last year's class? And here's what I'll say. I view Shedeur Sanders as a reliable, middle of the pack NFL starting quarterback. He is super accurate, great lethal accuracy, great touch on the run, ball placement is there. He actually had the #1 completion percentage and the #1 adjusted completion percentage. He throws with anticipation, but he's not special. Like the arm talent is certainly not special. You can't convince me that. Like the zip on the intermediate throws, there's not this rocket coming out of the arm, right? I mean, the zip is a little questionable. The deep ball power is a little bit questionable, but anything within like 30 yards, the ball placement is just perfect. Good pocket awareness, doesn't turn the ball over, right? Had a 1.1 turnover worthy play percentage, but there are some concerns. Like he holds onto the ball way too long. He has little to no rushing expectations at the next level for fantasy football. Again, I question the arm strength. I think it led to some interceptions, specifically on the boundaries. I think he struggled to get it there with, that real strength that you want to see, that zip off the ball. I don't think he had that. There's a lot of check downs, screens, quick outs in his offense. I guess we said the same thing about Bo Nix. Well, we didn't, but some people said the same thing about Bo Nix last year. He has had 7 fumbles this year, 31 in his 4-year career, so that's a concern. I would have a late first, early second round grade on him. I'm going to compare him to like the Tua Tagovailoas, the Brock Purdy's. His floor is like a Jacoby Brissett. I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I do. But I don't think in many classes he would be a top 3 pick, which is where he's currently being projected to go. And I also don't see him like changing Dynasty. I think he's going to be, again, like, is Tua a game changer in a super flex? He's a good quarterback too. I don't think he's changing your life. And here's what I'll say. If you were to place him into last year's class, based off my scouting grades, he would have been my quarterback 7. That sounds terrible, but remember, we were telling you last year that it was a generational quarterback class. So names like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, that's 6. I'd put him at 7. He'd still be a first round option, but I wouldn't put him in the top 5 last year. Wouldn't be anywhere near there. So I think you put this guy on the Giants. He's the perfect fit for Malik Neighbors. This ball placement, really good, accurate type of quarterback. But again, I don't think he's going to change fantasy football. And that's why I can't rank him inside the top 3 right now. And I will change if my opinion changes, right? I'll change that in our content. Just before we get into tier 3, I am super excited to let you guys know that our draft guide for 2025, which was the most viewed draft guide in 2024 in Dynasty, is releasing right before Christmas, all right? So the 23rd of December, that bad boy will be out on the Flock Fantasy website. If you want to gain access to it, all you have to do is be a monthly or yearly member with the promo code LAND. If you want to become a yearly member with the Mother Flocker tier, you will get a free team playbook as well. But we're excited to release version 1 of that here very soon. All love, let's get back to the video. All right, let's get to tier 3. There's 2 players here, Travion Henderson. I think Travion Henderson of the Ohio State running backs is my preference. I believe he has a chance to break fantasy football. I don't know why people are discounting him as a rusher because he's super dynamic, super explosive. The elusiveness is ridiculous when he gets past that first level into the second level of play. He can make your man miss with all these different bags of tricks like we talked about. He's a home run hitter, lightning quick feet, high speed processing behind the line of scrimmage. And he produced really, really well, was super efficient while he was sharing the backfield. I think he's a special player. I think there's some Aaron Jones there, Tiki Barber, D'Angelo Williams, Tony Pollard. I think he has a chance to break fantasy football, specifically with what he does as a catcher and specifically after the catch. You're going to design plays for him as a pass catcher. And at number 9, the other player in this tier, we're talking my tight end 1, Colston Loveland. Now, if you're going to look purely based off of stats, he's not going to be your tight end 1, but I think the film shows a different story. The film shows a special athlete at 6'5", 245 pounds, stuck in an offense with terrible quarterback play, trying to overcome it. Because that's exactly what we saw this year. But here's what I will say. He is an advanced route runner. understands how to manipulate defenders using body fakes, head fakes. He has true wide receiver traits as a route runner. He definitely does. And he has the tight end body. He has that size at 6'5", 250 pounds. He's got great suddenness, speed as well. That combo is super lethal. Great body control. He's a play extender. He's got good ball skills. I believe, he's not the best run blocker. I'll give you that. He's not the best run blocker. But I don't care about you being able to run block in fantasy football. In fact, I prefer you just to catch passes. I mean, are you guys like super hyped about Travis Kelce's ability to run block? No. But you love the man because he's a true game-changing difference maker tight end. And I think that's the profile you have with Colson Loveland. In fact, I'm going to compare him to Evan Ingram. Yes, Evan Ingram coming out of college was a first-round pick. He instantly garnered 100 targets as a rookie. I think you see something similar for Colson Loveland. In fact, if he gets drafted to the Chargers with Harbaugh, I think it's game over. Moving into tier number 4. We're going to start off with a couple running backs, Woody Marks and Quinshon Judkins. Look, what is your flavor here? I prefer Woody Marks. I'm shocked that more people aren't talking about Woody Marks. I think he has a chance to be, this true ridiculous dual threat running back in the NFL. His analytics are average, but the film is absolutely beautiful. He's an incredibly creative player, maybe one of the most creative players in the class, a true game-changing pass catcher, purposeful feet, quick purposeful feet, left to right in a flash. 84.8% of his snaps, he's running a route, which is by far the highest I've ever seen. If you look at his receiving in his career, it's ridiculous. I'll have my editor put up on the screen, but he had 83 catches in 2021 as a running back. I mean, the guy is absolutely insane. I see David Johnson. I don't know why people aren't higher on this guy, but I see David Johnson. I see some Tyrone Tracy, some Rachaad White. I could be wrong, but I think he's a special player waiting for people to wake up to. Quinshon Judkins, look, here's the deal. I'll be honest, here's what I'll say. The good things about Quinshon Judkins, he runs through contact like the Kool-Aid man runs through a wall. The strength is noticeable on film, but outside of the play strength, I have some question marks, man. I think we're all a little bit too in love with his freshman season. He's not a home run hitter, doesn't have special speed. He's not the most elusive running back. Like when he gets into the open field, he's not going to juke your ass. I mean, he's going to bowl you over, but if he can't beat you with strength, you're going to bring him down. He lacks creativity. Whatever the offensive line opens up for him, great. He's going to execute well on, but he's not this creative player behind the line of scrimmage. And the fact that his main calling card is strength, I don't understand. While a guy who is splitting carries with TreVeyon Henderson has the 95th best yards after contact per attempt. Don't understand it. I think he should be processing way quicker behind the line of scrimmage as a third-year player. His production has decreased every single year of his career. I think he's a fine, startable running back, but I don't think, people are comparing him to Joe Mixon. Guys, Joe Mixon, go watch his Oklahoma film. This is not Joe Mixon. This is David Montgomery at best. This is Kareem Hunt at best. This is Tank Bigsby. I think he's still a very good, productive player, but I just don't think he's like an elite talent like people are labeling him right now. All right, moving on to some wide receivers. We've got Jalen Royals and Emeka Egbuka next. Jalen Royals, my favorite sleeper in the class. I think if this kid was at Ohio State, we would have a first-round grade on him. Everybody would be talking about him. He is a dynamic, versatile, big-body, route-running yak threat at 6 foot, 205 pounds. This kid is special, all right? This is that diamond that you're trying to find in the haystack. Go watch the film and tell me that you didn't fall in love instantly. Insane yak threat, legit versatility, good route runner. I see a little combination of Rashee Rice with the yak and the physicality and George Pickens as far as this big body that can develop into a better route runner, right? George Pickens didn't come out and he wasn't a special route runner from day one, but I think we could see a similar route from Jalen Royals. I truly think he can be a special player. Emeka Egbuka is your safety net. If you want a safe pick, Emeka Egbuka is not going to bust in the NFL. He is a chain-moving, ankle-breaking slot specialist. He's a great route runner, very versatile, but I don't think he's a field stretcher. And if you are a slot-exclusive player, I want you to be really elite as a slot player. And I don't know that Emeka Egbuka is a really dynamic, explosive yak player. Like JSN coming out, it was so obvious. The film screamed that he would dominate after the catch at the next level. I'm not so sure. I feel like there might be some athletic limitations here with Emeka Egbuka, in my humble opinion. That's just the way I feel. You might disagree. I still think he can be a very productive number 2. I think we're seeing maybe Robert Woods at best, a young Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that's the kind of ceiling you're looking at. Not going to bust, but I don't think he's going to break fantasy football, if you will. All right, let's talk about another quarterback. I know you've been waiting to hear why he hasn't been called yet. Yes, this is super flex, but this is where I would rank Cam Ward. In fact, let me just say something, guys. I don't know how to say this without being rude. I've only been scouting 5 years, but there has never been a quarterback that has a consensus top 3 value in the NFL draft, top 3 pick, that I have been so far from with consensus evaluation. And I'm starting to question my own evaluations here, but I don't understand how this guy is a consensus top 3 pick. The highs are incredibly high, but the lows are incredibly low. Let's talk about the good to start off. Pocket awareness is great. Escapability is there. Incredible zip. Like we said, Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that special zip in those intermediate throws. Cam Ward definitely has that zip. The NFL arm talent is there. Can make any throw on Sundays. Beautiful deep ball. Had a 4th most big time throws. Has a big strong frame. It's tough to bring him down in the pocket. Good anticipation. Well, relatively. But here's where things break down for me. Again, go watch the game versus California. In fact, if you don't want to, I've already put some film up on my Twitter. Here's a screenshot. Go find me and watch it for yourself. The game versus California. I don't think I've watched a more frustrating game of a quarterback prospect, a first-round quarterback prospect in 5 years. The decision-making was the worst I've ever seen of a potential first-round quarterback. The decision-making in that game leaves you completely mind-boggled. It's like, am I watching a freshman or am I watching a 5th-year senior with a bunch of experience? I mean, it is Colts, Carson Wentz vibes. It is Will Levis vibes. All right? This man, he holds onto the ball way too long. There are open wide receivers. He sees them. He's not hitting them. I don't know why. It leads to way too many sacks. I think NFL scouts are going to be yelling at the monitor watching it. I question his cerebral, internal, mental processing. I really, really question it because oftentimes he throws the harder pass rather than the easy one that's open. He doesn't get through his reads as quickly as I'd like him to. He often gets stuck on his first read. He puts his wide receivers in terrible positions down the field. His sideline accuracy is booty cheeks. All right, honestly, like the guy throwing to the sidelines, it's like he's got both of his eyes closed before he throws it. He's not going to be a rushing threat in the NFL. He will escape the pocket. He'll extend plays, but he's not a rushing threat in the NFL. I truly don't understand. I mean, if you go to that Cal game, there's a game where this guy rolls out of the pocket and he throws the ball across his body to the opposite side of the field into triple coverage, and it's a pick 6. And this stuff is riddled all over his film. The decision-making is truly the worst I've ever seen from a consensus top 3 pick. I think there's huge bust potential. I think at best, this is Jordan Love. And when I say that, I mean, you sit him down for a year or 2 and let him learn. Because all of the traits are there athletically and physically, but it's not up here yet. It's not. It's a lot of Will Levis in the game. It's a lot of Jameis Winston in the game. It's a lot of Carson Wentz from the Colts in the game. And I could be wrong, but I'm not willing to put him that high in my rankings right now. Moving on, let's talk about Tyler Warren. I do really love Tyler Warren. He got the award for the best tight end in college football this year, but I think he's going to be very team fit dependent. My comp for him is Taysom Hill. Super versatile. You can line him up anywhere. Former quarterback. He plays running back. He lines up out wide. He's in the Wildcat. But I don't know how logistically usable that is in the NFL, right? I mean, for example, if he goes to Denver, sure, I think you can say this is a young Taysom Hill and Sean Payton's going to utilize him in a fun way. But I still have question marks about that. And the last player in this tier is Brashard Smith, one of my favorite sleeper running backs in this class. I think he has bursts like nobody else. His burst is like putting your foot down on a Tesla. That's the kind of burst you're seeing on film. He is going to be playing in college football playoffs, so make sure you keep your eye on him. His analytics are out of this world. Super impressive season. He's a wide receiver to running back convert. Now, last year I brought you guys Tyrone Tracy, and a lot of people said they were out because they don't like that convert position. Well, hopefully now you're a little bit more open to the idea, because I do see some Tyrone Tracy. I do see some James Cook, some Tony Pollard in his game. All right, moving on to tier number 6. We're going to go through this tier a lot quicker than we did the previous one. Jack Besh out of TCU. I think this kid could be sneaky special. He's got a big body, but he's a good route runner, and he's super good after the catch. It's kind of like Puka Nacua. I don't want to go too crazy. It's Puka Nacua, it's Robert Woods. It's a versatile Gabe Davis at worst. I'm a big fan of his game. Trey Harris. Trey Harris has the widest range of outcomes of any wide receiver in this class. He's a size, speed, super fluid athlete, right? Can win down the field. Definitely a deep field threat. He can stretch the field. Burner speed is what I'm trying to say, right? But he needs to develop. There's a lot of development. There's some concentration drops that remind me of Christian Watson. The routes are a bit rounded off. It's not very precise. He doesn't have a very big route tree in general. 80 to 90% of his routes are these simple comeback routes or the go route. It's not very complex. He needs to develop in that area. And I also don't think he's a special yak player. He's not very versatile in that sense, in my opinion. I think he has a huge range of outcomes. Nico Collins is the top, but George Pickens, Christian Watson is more of a realistic ceiling, and the floor is as low as a Quentin Johnson and Jonathan Mingo. The next player, y'all know I love this name if you've been watching the channel, Tez Johnson. This could be a sneaky Tank Dell type of player in this class. Last year, only Malik Neighbors had a higher yards per route run than Tez Johnson in that class last year. True burner speed, ridiculous route runner, one-on-one. He's a nightmare to cover. I'm a huge fan of his game, have been for a while. Again, I see a Walmart Tank Dell, a little Wandale Robinson role. I'm a big fan of his game. Next, we'll talk about Jalen Noel, who is my preferred receiver from Iowa State. Here's the deal. If you love Josh Downs, I think you'll love Jalen Noel. That's the most I'll say in order to save time. But if you watch his film, he's a Josh Downs, Darnell Mooney type of player. I think he could be super productive in the NFL. Next player here is Isaiah Bond. Where's number 7? Does the James Bond celebration. Isaiah Bond, from a pure talent perspective, has the talent to be a top 4 wide receiver in this class, but the production is insanely terrible. He has one game in his entire career over 100 receiving yards. It's I think 2% of his career games over 100 receiving yards. The production isn't there, and he transferred and still the production isn't there. From a talent perspective, you got a Brandon Cooks, Jaden Reed. But from a production perspective, there's huge question marks, and we can't ignore them. We'll go on a little run of running backs here. Okay, I won't go too in depth. DJ Giddens, who I think is one of the most underrated running backs in the entire class. I think he has a real chance to be special. Another one of those guys who turns lemons into lemonade, does the most with every opportunity that he has. His analytic profile is out of this world. We'll also talk about Dylan Sampson, who is this little ball of energy, this ball of production. Huge numbers out of Tennessee. I see some Bucky Irving there. Again, we're going so deep into this list, and we still have running backs that I think can be productive from day one. Let's talk about Cam Skattebo, who I recently scouted a couple days ago, and I am happy to say I'm obsessed with this guy. Fantastic strength and contact balance combo. Reminds you a little bit of David Montgomery. He moves laterally really well. Excellent vision. He's a big receiving threat, but he lacks short area quickness. He's not a home run hitter. I don't know if he can win outside. Again, there's some David Montgomery there, some Javonte Williams there. At worst, Tyler Algier, Zamir White. So, he's not a special athlete, but I think he can definitely be productive in the NFL. And to finish off the list, we've got Devin Neal and Nick Singleton, 2 running backs that I do believe can be productive in the NFL. I do prefer Devin Neal a little bit. Nick Singleton, I was quite low on, but his game in the Big Ten Championship, he looked like the freshman version of himself. And if he keeps putting that on film, that's what we want to see. That was super impressive. The best game he's had since his freshman season. By far, it's not even close. All right, let's go on to our another tier here, and we're going to just kind of label these off. We're not going to go into depth. Jarquez Hunter, Le'Veon Moss, 2 running backs I love, Jalen Milroe and Drew Allar. I don't know if these guys are going to declare or not. I think they should come back to college, so we'll wait and see. Jordan James, another running back who's kind of similar to Bucky Irving. Ja'Cory Brooks, who's a development wide receiver, but has all the natural traits. Xavier Restrepo, who can be a very productive slot receiver. I think Jaden Higgins can also do the same. He can be a big slot. And then with those running backs, you got Damian Martinez, Raheem Sanders, Kyle Monongai, I think is how you say it, RJ Harvey. And even RJ Harvey, I could see being a starter in the NFL. And the last tier here is tier number 7. I'll leave this as an honorable mention. I'm not a big fan of some of these players like Ollie Gordon, Kyron Lacey, for example. But other players I really love, I just don't have answers on yet. For example, Alec Ao Manor or Ao Manor or Matthew Golden. I don't have film on these guys yet, so I can't really give you my actual opinion on them. Evan Stewart, I wholeheartedly believe should come back to college. I do not think he should declare. If he does, I don't think he gets drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds. And yeah, that's the list for now. It is so hard to present this information in a short period of time. I hope this was helpful. I really appreciate you guys for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like button, show some love. Subscribe if you like the content, and we'll see you guys here very, very soon. Last thing I'll say is if you guys want a team playbook, we are giving those to 1 yearly Mother Flocker members, all right? You'll get a team playbook along with our 2025 rookie report, which we talked about earlier. But if you're on a different code, you don't want to use the promo code LAND, then you can also get a team playbook from us just through the Flock Fantasy store. You can see those links in the description. I appreciate y'all watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.